Alex from Novation, and this is Circuit Rhythm. It's an 8-part sampler with sequencer sections and a performance effects on the output that we can have a lot of fun with. But firstly, what's the difference between rhythm and tracks? So, circuit tracks, circuit rhythm. What's the main differences? Circuit rhythm has 8 sample parts with the capacity to record samples directly onto the device. There's also a few grid effects and performance features which make it really fun for live remixes. Circuit tracks is 4 sample parts and 2 synth engines. It's also got 2 MIDI sequencer tracks for sequencing external pieces of equipment. Both are battery powered with headphone outputs, so you can take them wherever you find inspiration, but they also work really nicely as part of a larger setup. So whereas the sequencers are more or less the same across both devices, the methods of sound generation on both are quite different. Circuit Rhythm is entirely sample based. You can record samples directly onto it, and you can also remix them with the fun grid effects on there as well. Circuit Tracks has 4 sample parts, but also has 2 synth engines. It also has 2 MIDI tracks, which are exclusively for sequencing external pieces of equipment, which can then be attached to the inputs with a bit of reverb and delay attached to them as well. So those are the main differences. Now, back to the video. So to start with, let's have a look at the basic layout. We've got a sequencer across the top and samples across the bottom. Let's start with a kick drum sound on track 1. We can detune this a bit, add some distortion, change the slope, which is an amp envelope control, until we get a sound that we like. Now in the sequencer view across the top, I'm going to add a few triggers for the kick drum. Now on the next track, I'm going to add a snare drum sound. This track is slowed down a little bit, so I don't have to put quite as many hits in. So now I'm going to set the start length back to the beginning of the pattern, and we've now got a kick and a snare drum loop going. Now on the third track, I'm going to add some hi-hat sounds. I'm going to start with an open sounding hi-hat, but I'm going to close it using the slope control, which I will then automate as the sequence goes on. So I automate between an open hi-hat and a closed hi-hat sound. Let's add those hits to the sequencer. So now we have a basic beat programmed, let's throw in some melodic elements. On the 5th sample track, I'm going to pick a bass note. This time, I'm going to play the notes in live, over the top of the beat, and I'm going to turn record quantize off so that I can actually record things off grid a little bit as well. Let's give that a go. I can add in a bit of filtering. Going to add a little bit of reverb to some of the drum tracks now to fill out the space a little bit more. And across the top of the effects page here as well, we can add a few delay steps. So now we've programmed in a basic beat with a bass line over the bottom of it. Let's have a look at what we can do with the sampler's slice function. Over here on track 7, I'm going to select a nice long breakbeat. I'm going to detune that a bit so it fits in with the track a bit more, and then I'm going to slice it up into 16 individual samples on the sample mode page. So here we go. I'll now add these to the sequencer in an arrangement which I prefer, so then I've got a custom arrangement of that beat. Let's hear that back. So as you can hear, we can still add the distortion, slope and detune effects to the breakbeat, which we've sliced up and rearranged, and get some really fun, interesting effects out of it. We can also continue to detune it and repitch it however we like. These are all things that we can automate per step too. Now on the output section, there's these grid effects, which is a really fun way to get some creative, inspiring sounds very quickly out of the machine. Let me show you what I mean here. So let's have a look at these one by one. These red pads here represent beat repeat at different times. The yellow pads are much like the beat repeat, but they reverse the buffer that they've recorded. On the bottom left here, we've got gator settings at different speeds. There's also a vinyl simulator. And a phaser. A digital bit crush effect. And a filter on an automatic sweep setting. These grid effects can be completely customized to have different parameters and settings to your taste. This is done using the Novation Components software, which allows you to edit the timing, the effects rate, and the type of filter on each kind of grid effect. These grid effects are also applied to anything connected to the inputs on the back of circuit rhythm, which is a really fun way to use it as an effects unit as well. So let's have a look at what we can do with that. To do Now let's record a sample straight into circuit rhythm through the inputs. Here the guitar's plugged in and it's going into the input directly through a pedal, and I've got the sample record page now set up so that I can monitor what I'm hearing. I can also set it to actually start recording when a certain threshold is breached. This allows me to have a hands-free approach, so I can just hit record and then start playing, and it will start recording from the moment I started playing. So now I'm going to hit record and see if I can get a sample to play with. So now on the 8th track, I can select that sample and slice it up as we did earlier with the drum beat. This time I'm going to put it into 8 individual slices. And to mix a bit of chaos into this composition, I'm just going to set them all on different steps and set the playback direction to random. So that's Circuit Rhythm. It's also totally portable as it's got a rechargeable battery and headphone port, so you can come up with ideas wherever you find inspiration and then take it back to the studio and use the MIDI out ports to sequence other pieces of equipment, resample them back in and take it away. Thanks very much for checking this out. If you want to find out more, head over to gak.co.uk or come down to the store in Brighton to check it out.